Welcome back to the Portraits in Fitness channel. My name is David. I'm a photographer based in the East Bay of the San Francisco Bay Area, and I'm very excited to share an 11-week update on my carnivore way of eating, hurtling full speed ahead towards the 90-day mark, which I will reach early in the week, 2 weeks from now. Just got back from a 10-day visit to my parents and my in-laws in New York. They happen to conveniently live almost in the same neighborhood, so that was really great. And I'm about 36 hours into a fast. The last time I ate was yesterday morning, New York time, and it's late afternoon, Berkeley time. So I'm looking forward to having some dinner and breaking that 36-ish hour fast by the time I do consume tonight's ribeye steak. But at any rate, today I have a little bit of a health update as well as a special request for my audience. And speaking of my audience, when I set out on this series of carnivore updates, I had only in mind to really keep myself accountable, to give myself something to look forward to each week, and really marking my progress and maybe some setbacks as well. But for my own edification, my own reference, and somehow I've picked up a bit of an audience, and I'm really thankful for each and every one of you for watching the videos. I hope you're getting something valuable from them, and I do have a request for your valuable input. I was going to give a little bit of a health update, but let's just get this valuable input part out of the way. And so I would like to ask for your help putting together an introduction video to carnivore. Well, the twist is that those of you that may know a little bit about my background may know that I am fluent in the Chinese language of Mandarin, as well as a dialect of Chinese that I'm conversant in, not quite fluent. And I've been a professional translator from Chinese to English for over 35 years. I lived in a Chinese language environment for 27 years. And at one point I was a sports photojournalist and sometimes would write my own articles on race reports, essentially in Chinese as well. So I'm very comfortable in Chinese. And one thing is I've noticed in just hanging out at carnivore circles and watching videos, reading websites, is that from time to time there's people that pipe in Chinese and they ask for information in Chinese. So I thought I'd put together a Carnivore 101 introduction video, and I would like your input. So basically what I have in mind is to just go over the basics. So things like, what is the carnivore diet? What constitutes it? Why do people follow the carnivore diet? What are the key differences between carnivore and ketogenic diet? There is some familiarity in the Chinese-speaking world with the ketogenic approach to eating, so that won't be too much of a stretch. But then I also want to cover the differences and also some really practical things like how to shop, the cost that may be involved, how to cook and prepare this food for consumption, and then maybe even a few things like kitchenware and what kind of equipment you might need to prepare carnivore style food compared to maybe the typical Chinese kitchen, which is going to be a lot of stir fry, not a lot of baking, not a lot of grilling or anything of that sort. So there could be some differences. The Chinese speaking world, the Chinese cuisine is generally a lot of stir fry and so a lot of boiled pasta as well, and rice. So what are the differences? Maybe there's a bit of a kitchen management issue to address here. And I would also like to kind of head off or anticipate some possible questions or objections that people may have, or concerns such as, what about heart disease? Are you going to overload your kidneys? Could there be renal issues? What about fiber? Don't you need fiber And don't you need your veggies? Don't you need carbohydrates to fuel you? Again, I'm probably talking mostly to an active audience because those are the people that know me in the Chinese speaking world. And then what about cholesterol? Aren't you going to overload your body with cholesterol and cause issues such as heart disease? I'd like to anticipate and address these questions. So my question to you is, as somebody that may be even further along on this path than I am at only 11 weeks and maybe 15 weeks by the time I put this together, but what are the key things that you would have liked to know, or you feel that somebody that's considering this way of eating, or you just want to kind of inform people so you don't have to repeat yourself all the time? What are those key things that you would put in the, let's say, the curriculum for Carnivore 101? And so what key points would you cover in any basic introduction? And on that note, if somebody has already made that video that covers all those bases and you feel it's a really good reference for me, I'm not reinventing the wheel. I know there's tons of really good carnivore channels and there's carnivore experts. There's very credentialed people in this area as well that have a bunch of videos. If there's one that just succinctly puts everything together that you think is a good reference, I will certainly take it into account. I will watch it, and I will probably kind of amalgamate several of those videos into my own. But I am doing my own work. I don't feel like I'm going to be asking anybody to do my homework for me, because I'm going to be writing this in Chinese after all. I'm going to write a full script because I'm much better reading out a script in Chinese than any kind of impromptu, off the cuff addressing this topic. So I do want to be prepared thoroughly and have a script and practice it out, and so I can deliver this nicely. And my real objective for this is, again, kind of like this channel, I want to reinforce what I'm doing. So just kind of coalescing all this information in one nice, tidy package will be beneficial for myself. And it'll answer some of the questions that I may have in the back of my mind, or those around me may have about me following this sort of way of life or way of eating. And so I feel it's a valuable exercise for myself. And then if it opens up a whole new cultural language audience, that would be just wonderful. And that's the objective. And what I'm really seeking to do is just put this one out there, put this introduction video out there, and make it mostly a standalone video and address any of the questions that may arise in the comments below that video. And then eventually, if enough comments on some other things that I didn't cover or couldn't cover crop up in those comments and they accumulate, then maybe I will create some follow-up videos. But I'd really like it to be essentially a standalone video, and Carnivore 101 introduction in Chinese. And I'm not seeking to branch out into a Chinese language channel or really supplement or augment what I'm doing here in Chinese. That's just a lot of work, and I don't plan to do that. So just to conclude with a brief health update, as I mentioned, we just finished a visit to the in-laws and the parents in New York, and I enjoyed cooking and preparing meals for all the non-carnivores in my life while I maintained the carnivore way of eating. So that was another success. The only one little bit of disappointment was that I had to say no to my dad, who often looks forward to my visits because he prepares some really nice bottles of wine that we enjoy over our dinners. And so this time I had to just make it very clear that I'm not drinking alcohol. I had to make it clear I'm not eating salads. I'm not eating mangoes with breakfast. But I did prepare breakfast for everybody that was not necessarily carnivore, and also dinners, and got great satisfaction and enjoyment from feeding my family, from providing nourishment to other people, especially those that I love the most. So that was really wonderful. And at the same time, I continued to follow a strict carnivore approach, and I weighed myself while I was there in New York, but also weighed myself after a morning meeting today. And I found that I am indeed probably on a trend of about 1 pound a week weight loss. And the grand total right now, since I first really started taking a good look at myself and finding myself super frustrated with referring to my past life and my past activities as 50 pounds ago. That was last April 2023. And the grand total right now is what? About 32 pounds, maybe even a little bit more since that time. And especially since I began weight training last November, I was at a certain level and I've continued to lose about 24 pounds of fat body weight since that time, since November, since I began strength training, and then with Carnivore in first week of May 2024. It's a grand total of 24 additional pounds on top of what I lost between April and November of last year when I began weight training. So that's really good news. The only real frustrations I'm experiencing right now, having really put my back pain behind me, I was experiencing some back pain due to what I believe was gastric blockage and distress. That's gone. But I am continuing to deal with and experience some redness on my face. Not really new breakouts, but just healing from just a lot of action going on there, a lot of irritation on my face, on both sides of my nose, on my cheeks, and doesn't seem to be real typical rosacea anymore. It just seems to be dry flakiness and healing. So speaking of healing, I just believe that if you give your body the chance, when you experience some discomfort, it's really just healing trauma. I do think I need to take a deeper dive into what I'm eating and possibly exercise a bit more of a stricter elimination approach to my carnivore way of eating, although I am essentially just meat right now, not much dairy. However, there could be some issues with histamine. This issue could be related to a histamine response to some food, so I will be taking a closer look at that going forward. And lastly, I have been waking up in the middle of the night, or when I do wake up and kind of stretching, I will experience some cramps, and they're not in the same place every night, and they're pretty brutal, to be honest. I even experienced some cramping in the terminal waiting for my connection from Atlanta to Oakland yesterday, which was pretty brutal. That was a hamstring cramp. And then early this morning, I woke up and I even had an ankle/calf cramp that I just had to wake up and get up and walk around to kind of work out. So that's a bit annoying. They are kind of brutal, but nothing like I experienced back when I was running marathons and Ironman races, because I've never had worse cramping than at the last mile or so of an Ironman. I remember that very well, 2005. So nothing compares to that, but I would like to address that. I am drinking electrolytes and I'm taking some supplementation. I will be adding a bit of potassium supplementation on its own, and currently taking electrolytes and some magnesium and iodine supplementation. So that's really it for my health update. Again, just a reminder, I would really appreciate any input you have and any guidance to putting together a carnivore introduction 101 for a Chinese speaking audience. So any input or feedback you may have for putting together such a video would be most appreciated. And as always, I love your comments. If you haven't subscribed and liked this video, please do so. It helps me. And if I do branch out into the Chinese language world, it will help reach a potentially greater audience. And all I want to do is just share good living with other people. So there's another market to tap into, another realm of people that are more comfortable in Chinese. I happen to speak Chinese, and I'm really excited to put together this video with your help. So speaking of you, until our next update next week, it'll be my 12-week update, heading full speed ahead towards their 90-day mark early 2 weeks from now. Until that update, as always, be good to yourself. Take care.